We just got another one. Yet another Miami Central High School defensive standout is staying home in the 305. Ezekiel Marcelin, welcome to the U.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
A Sunday commitment. Yeah, it's getting busy for the Miami Hurricanes. In fact, Ezekiel Marcelin, three-star linebacker out of Miami Central, actually becomes the fourth verbal commitment that Miami has landed in the last 6 days. Second consecutive verbal commitment Miami has landed from that Central High School defense. Miami Central has become quite the pipeline for the U just in these past few cycles on that defensive side of the football. Wesley Basaint, who's balling out at linebacker for Miami. Ruben Hurricane Bain, who had a breakout true freshman season last year. We'll see if Armando Blunt, who's a true freshman this year, has himself a breakout season. And now you can add Amari Wallace and Ezekiel Marcelin into that Miami Central to the U mix this coming year. I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and writer for allhurricanes.com, also co-host of Locked On ACC. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. On this episode, we are going to talk about also a busy offseason for both the men's and women's hoops teams, roster transformations in progress. Our special guest is the one to break that down with us. We're going to talk about the other feedback we're getting with Miami official recruiting visitors from this weekend, including Jose Epinesa. But let's bring on our magnificent guest. It's been way too long since we've had Hoodie Girl with us. Welcome back to the show, Melissa, a.k.a. Hoodie Girl. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a few months, Donno. The last time we DM'd was in like February. But we're missing our guy Chalupa, so I figured I would shout him out. Because usually the Avengers assemble all three of us together, but we are Chalupa-less today, so shout out to my guy.
Yeah, and we know, like, Chalupa, he's interviewed Ezekiel Marcelin before, and he wanted to be here, but he is sick. Like, he's really sick. So if you guys follow Corey Carmona, a.k.a. Chalupa Batman, if you follow him on X or social media, wish him well, because he was dying to join us today so we could assemble the full Avengers, but he could not make it. So this is like one of those other Marvel movies where it's like just a couple of heroes. Like, it's not a full Avengers. It's just like a shorter
spin-off
version of that.
It's a spinoff.
It totally is.
It's not the full set. He'll come in later for the sequel.
Yeah. So in terms of what Miami is getting now with Ezekiel Marcelin, about 6 foot, 6'1", 210-pound linebacker out of Miami Central. I love to watch this young man play, quite frankly. And listen, I know that, again, like the 3-star brigade is like, another 3-star. 3-stario Cristobal. What is he doing wasting our time with this 3 stars? This is a really important player. We'll also talk about the importance that Ezekiel Marcelin is going to bring to Miami's culture. On the field, very explosive sideline to sideline. His closing speed is something to watch. If you have a chance to watch the huddle reel, some of the YouTube highlights of Ezekiel Marcelin, I highly recommend it, because this guy is explosive. He has a knack for sacking quarterbacks. He's a physical and technical tackler. A lot of times at the point of contact, oftentimes, a smaller linebacker might be pushed an extra yard or two. Not Marcelin. Very strong, very explosive. He tackles very well. And Melissa, I think one of the most important things when we look at Ezekiel Marcelin on the field, his instincts are hard to teach. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time. Very good skills for an off-ball linebacker. So this is someone who I have no doubt when he arrives for the 2025 season, Ezekiel Marcelin is going to make the Miami Hurricanes better.
I mean, yeah, I agree. And the little bit of time that I was able to watch some film, because this all happened like within an hour of me being awake. Um, he's explosive. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's only a 3-star, blah, blah, blah. He's small. First of all, he's gonna put on, unless he's Cyrus Moss, he's gonna put on more weight once he hits the program. And also, teams aren't made of 52 like 5-star players. Like this is just impossible. You're going to have 4-star guys, you're going to have 3-star guys. Some of our best players on our team were 3-star guys. You look at Inez Cooper, who's going to be a high draft pick after next season on our offensive line. He was only a 3-star. Give our coaches and the staff a chance to develop these guys. He's coming from Miami Central, which is, a beast program in general, and it just helps continue to feed the pipeline. You see what guys like Ruben Bain have done coming out of Miami Central. It's just, you just keep bringing in those guys. We always say we want to keep the South Florida kids home. This is how we do it. You keep this talent. I mean, he's playing at a high level in Miami. That's hard to do. A 3-star in Miami is a lot different than a 3-star coming from somewhere else.
Yeah, and I love the way that Miami Central now, with Amari Wallace and Ezekiel Marcelin within 3 nights, how they're setting the tone for the rest of South Florida, because these are actually the first 2 South Florida verbal commits that Miami got in this class. There's going to be more, and we have this conversation all the time with the recruiting overlord Brian Smith. Just oftentimes in general, South Florida kids usually tend to, on average, wait longer to announce verbal commits than players from a lot of other areas. They tend to go through that process a little bit more, but obviously it's very nice within a few days to land Amari Wallace and Ezekiel Marcelin. Of course, they play in the same defense at Miami Central. Wallace, a 4-star, Marcelin, a 3-star. However, Ezekiel Marcelin, leading tackler for the Miami Central Rockets this past year. This is a 3-year starter at one of the most prominent high school football programs in the entire country. So again, people can scrutinize the stars all they want to. This is a good player. And Melissa, when I said at the top that this is a really important culture move for Miami, and I feel this way with this batch of Miami Central guys that Miami has pulled in since Wes Besaint in 2022, Bain in 23, Blunt in 24, and now these 2 players for 25. I think there's a reason, even outside of just the X's and O's, why Mario Cristobal and company, assistant coaches, like in this case, Derek Nicholson being the primary recruiter here, why they're so intent on pulling guys out of that Miami Central defense, because they have one of the best cultures in the country. That's a culture on that defense where these players hold themselves and each other accountable. So when we talk on this show about wanting Miami to be more of a player-led team, that these guys really need to be the ones to get in each other's faces even before the coaches do, that's part of that culture at Miami Central. So you hope all these guys, I think we're already seeing it with Besaint and Bain, you hope that all the rest of these Miami Central players can really bring that culture back to Miami's defense, because that had been something for many years here that had been lacking.
Yeah, and also, you keep bringing guys in from Central. These are guys that all have played together at some point, whether one of them was a senior and another was a sophomore and such and such. You keep bringing that culture into the locker room, and the recruiting does itself. The guys go back to their friends that are still playing at Central and say, hey, you want to play here? This is what's going on, blah, blah, blah. You look at what Ruben Bain did as a freshman and be like, listen, I was all freshman ACC, blah, blah, blah. I got all this time as a freshman. You want to come here, come develop. Look at, get coached by, Jason Taylor or D-Nick, these guys that have great resumes, and then you get to stay home and play in front of your family. I mean, what's better than repping your hometown?
Yeah, and for Marcelin, people are pointing this out in the live chat. And by the way, if you're watching us live right now, Hoodie Girl and Donno with you on Locked On Canes. If you're live right now on our YouTube channel, smash that thumbs up, smash that like button, subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to the audio version, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your pods, make sure to subscribe there as well. So, when you look at who Marcelin chose Miami over, his final decision, I say quote unquote final. I know it's not National Signing Day, but the final decision for the verbal commit came down between Miami, Penn State, Louisville, Pittsburgh, and Stanford. And I want to see if I can pull up some of his other offers. He's got impressive offers around the country as well. Hold on. So he's got offers from Auburn. He's got offers from Florida State. He's got offers from Michigan. He's got offers from Nebraska. Tennessee has offered him. Texas A&M has offered him. West Virginia. So, Somebody pointed it out. You can tell a lot about a prospect based on the offer list, and the offer list was solid here for Ezekiel Marcelin. And there's other news on a Miami linebacker, a Miami recruited linebacker who just had his official visit. We're going to talk about that and so much more when we come back. We still need to talk about the hoops offseason, some of the other pieces of feedback from official visitors. Of course, Melissa, she is the hoops expert, and she's it's been too long, but she's anxious to lend her talents here to Locked On Canes, because we were talking off air, Melissa. You know, you had been so distracted by what's going on in basketball, it's taking you away from football a little bit. It's the opposite for me. I've been so distracted by what's going on with football, it's taken me away from all the basketball stuff. We got a new head coach of the women's team. The Cavender Twins are back. Coach L is reinventing the roster for the men's team. Guys, we are only getting started. You want to keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. And I already know you're keeping it locked to FanDuel. And folks, Stanley Cup finals are still going on. Your Florida Panthers are favored. I know the last 3 games have made us panic, but the Florida Panthers are favored on home ice tomorrow night to hopefully, by the grace of God, close out this best-of-7 series with a victory. And there's so much action you can get. I love sports so much. I never want them to stop, but as the playoffs are winding down, we get fewer games. The sports aren't sporting like we want them to, but FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And there are plenty of bets, guys. All the soccer tournaments going on, Copa America, the Euros. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bust bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thank you so much for making this special Sunday episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So Ezekiel Marcelin verbally committing to Miami is not the only good linebacker news we've gotten today, Melissa. So Elijah Melendez, who's, one of my favorite Miami verbal commits, one of 11 Miami verbal commits, 4-star linebacker out of Osceola High School in Kissimmee. He's kept his recruitment to this point pretty open. He's taken other official visits, just had an OV to Oklahoma last week. I said this on the show multiple times last week with Melendez, who just finished up his official visit at Miami. I wanted this to be the weekend where Miami locked him down and Melendez shuts down his recruitment. And he says he's doing just that. Melendez says he is locked in, his recruitment is over, and he is a Miami Hurricane. Color me relieved.
Yeah, I'm relieved too. I was getting a little antsy with him taking those extra visits and saying he was going to make a final decision when he was done with his OVs. And I'm like, but you already committed. But verbal commitments in the summer, you got to take it with a grain of salt because you never really know. This is like a once in a lifetime opportunity for these kids. They get treated like kings when they go on these OVs. So you can't blame him for wanting to go experience all of that. But he knows what's up. He's staying at Miami. So, I'm happy. That's 2 big, recruits in that linebacker core coming in next season or the season after technically. So I'm happy. I'm glad he's sticking around.
Yeah, so you're right. 2 linebacker commits so far with Melendez and with Marcelin, and I'm hoping they add at least one more because Gavin Nix out of IMG Academy has been crystal balled to Miami within this past week. So if that can become the trio that Derek Nicholson, and who knows, others may even enter the mix, but I would be perfectly content with that trio of linebackers coming in for the class of 2025. Another player that I am very interested, very keen on, a couple more. Jose Epinesa wrapped up his official visit, 5-star defensive lineman out of Illinois. This is one that Joe Salavea is very involved in per Kane Sport. This is a quote, Epinesa about Joe, Big Joe. He says, he's like an uncle to me. I've known him for a little bit, adding that the message from coaches was just about them coaching me, having Jason Taylor as a Hall of Fame guy to coach me. And, hopefully Miami can keep making moves for Epinesa. This was one a couple days before his visit. Steve Wiltfong at On3 Sports had mentioned he likes the way Miami's trending for Epinesa, who's one of the top players, top defensive linemen in the entire country. and that he was like getting closer to maybe dropping a Fong bomb in favor of Miami for Epinesa. So we might be inching closer to that. And it also sounds like SJ Alofaituli, who's my favorite offensive lineman in the class, had a really good visit. He talked about, this is per 24/7 Sports, on Coach Mirabal, the relationship we have together. He says it was definitely a blessing. He told Inside the U, the conversation we had was a blessing. I like it down here for sure. It was really just the love that the coaches were showing to me and my family. He said, the plan they have for me over here, it's just something special over here for sure. They love my family. They love me. Guys like Elijah Lofton, that's his former high school teammate, they showed out during spring ball, and that's something I plan to do over here as well. And I met SJ during his unofficial visit for the spring game. He seemed pretty happy. He seemed to be enjoying Miami. And this is like, right now, Hoodie Girl, Miami has the 30th ranked class in the country with about, almost 6 months to go before National Signing Day. If they can keep this sort of momentum going, I definitely think Miami can find themselves back in the top 10.
Yeah, I don't really look at the recruiting rankings until December because it's the same thing in the offseason. Twitter is going to bash Miami for not recruiting well. And we keep telling them, like, just wait. And then December comes and there we are, like, in the top 10. So, I never question any offensive line recruit that Cristobal and Mirabal land because they've already proven that they can rebuild that offensive line, especially with what we were able to do last year with our line. So I'm not worried about that. I think what we were able to do with Maui Noah as a true freshman on the offensive line is going to help recruit itself. So I think we're in for another big get on that offensive line in this recruiting class as well. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. No, I'm not either. And overall recruiting, Robbie Dukes brought this up in the live chat, and he's right on the timeline. Miami has been crystal balled to land 4-star defensive back Chris Ewald out of Chaminade. He's going to be announcing his verbal commitment. Hopefully it's Miami, but he's announcing on
him.
Thursday.
With the little bit of tape I've been able to see on him, because I've been doing a lot of hoops, I like him. I mean, he needs to come to Miami.
He does. And this is one, like, we've had conversations about Ewald. I look at Ewald, especially because he's local, but also DJ Pickett because of the family ties, and Pickett's the top player in Florida. Like, those are my must gets. Like, those are the two, not to say those are the only recruits I want, but those to me are like, you got to have these guys. Defensive back is such an important area of emphasis right now for Miami. And Derry Norris is the other one. He's a 3-star defensive lineman who's going to be announcing on Friday. Miami seems to be trending with both of them. So we shall see what happens. But yeah, I want to shift the conversation over to hoops since we have Hoodie Girl with us. But let me remind everybody, we're going to be very busy for this next week on Locked On Canes, because when we talk about possibly, landing verbal commits maybe on Thursday and Friday, and who knows what other surprises might come out over the next 4 days, right? Dennis Smith, D-Train, promised us a busy end of the month, and we're getting into that final week of the month. So we'll be talking all about it on Locked On Canes. Melissa, so this is something that this started brewing over a month ago, but it's notable that both the Cavender twins are back at Miami. Was that something you thought could happen, or when the news started to trickle out, was that something that surprised you? Was that out of left field?
I was surprised when Hannah announced that she was going to come back to Miami. Her sister Haley had already committed to TCU because she decided she wanted to use her last year of eligibility. So when Hannah announced she wanted to come back, I was actually surprised, but I was super happy because in my head I was like, Haley's going to come back to Miami. And for those who don't follow the women's team as much, 2 years ago when they made that run to the Elite Eight, Haley Cavender was our leading scorer on a team that went to the Elite Eight. She shoots like 95% from the free throw line. And if anyone followed the team last year, we were in like the bottom percent of free throw percentage in the country last year. Like, it was terrible. So I was super excited to get both of. Once Hannah committed, I was like, Haley's going to come back for sure. Yeah. And I thought that was a really big get because we lost pretty much our entire team when Coach Meyer retired. Everyone hit the transfer portal. We only have 2 returning players from last season that actually saw the court last year, and one of them tore her ACL in the middle of ACC play. So I thought that was really big for recruiting momentum. And if you followed the women's team in the offseason, Coach Cullup, our new coach, has completely rebuilt the team. And I'm expecting a tournament berth again this year. I think the ACC is one of the hardest conferences in women's basketball to play in. 8 teams from the conference made the tournament last year. It should have been 9 because we got massively
Yeah.
swept. But yeah, it's one of the hardest, if not the hardest conference for women's basketball. So, but Coach Cullip has done an amazing job rebuilding this team. And I think we're going to be a tournament team. And I think we're going to do really well in the ACC. But again, we got to see it on the court. Coach Cullip had a winning tradition at Toledo in 16 years. So I'm excited. We actually had her on the show last month. Did like a half an hour interview with her and she seems amazing. So if you want to get to know her more, go check out the Buckets Pod because we had a nice chat with her.
Yeah, that was really cool being able to watch that and just kind of feel like I get to know her a little bit because I was so bummed when Katie Meyer retired just because she was my coach. Like she started
devastated. I was devastated.
Like I was doing student radio at Miami, calling a lot of the games when she started. It was like, what was it, like 05, I think was her first year there. And I was doing student radio back in those days. And so like I've been following her career and the women's team all along. So I'm like, am I still going to be invested after Coach Meyer? But then from everything I've seen from Coach Cullip, and then, of course, getting the Cavenders back gets everyone excited. I like what you said also about the Cavenders on the court, because, again, I was having a conversation with an idiot friend of mine a couple of days ago who was like, well, yeah, the Cavenders are back, but they can't play basketball anyway. They're just TikTok stars. I'm like, no, dude, it's not. Just because all you do is look at them on TikTok doesn't mean they can't play.
People don't understand. They're both first. I mean, I mentioned Haley because she was our starting point guard for our Elite 8 team and was our leading scorer. That year as well, Hannah off the bench shared minutes with another player, so she didn't get as much time as she could have gotten and deserved. But her defense is impeccable. She's a great shooter. Also, they're both really, 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 really good basketball players. And these people that are like typing from their couch saying like, "Oh, they're not good. They're just social media stars." Are you playing Division I basketball? I mean, any girl in this country that's playing Division I basketball worked really, really hard to get there, and they're athletes. So the disrespect is just stupid. The hype and the attention that they're going to bring to our program because of their platform is you can't compare that to anything else. They're actually throwing out the first pitch at the Marlins game tonight. So
oh wow, I didn't know
that. The whole women's team is going to be there supporting them, but yeah, they're throwing out the first pitch tonight. So they're bringing more attention to the program. And I mean, what Coach Meyer was able to do in her time at Miami, like basically dug this program out of the ground, led them to their first Elite 8 ever 2 years ago. It's one of the most fun teams to watch. You can literally get a ticket for $5. It's the best. It's the cheapest entertainment in town. Like the best bang for your buck. Like go out to the Watt, support the women's team. You can get a ticket for $5. It's general admission. I literally watched us beat number 4 NC State last year from center court, like 3 rows up, because nobody goes in. It's the whole one side of the arena is general admission. You get great seats, and they're gonna be really good. If you go look at the transfer players we got from the portal, Coach Cullip has done an insane job rebuilding this team, and our leader Jasmine Roberts, who's gonna be it's an inside joke.
I saw my guy Vish. I'm like, I got to put Vish on the screen.
That's, if you want me to explain that, I will, but that's an inside joke from the show last night. But no, what Coach Cullip has done to rebuild this program, and Jasmine Roberts, who's our senior leader coming back from the team last year, our one player that played the whole season last year, she's the best player on our team. We interviewed her 2 months ago. If you go catch buckets, she's amazing. If anyone followed our Elite 8 run, you saw her break out as a sophomore in that tournament. Number 4, she's amazing. We got some really talented players on this team. Please follow them. And if you need updates, just watch Buckets because we cover it all.
Yeah, and by the way, that gives me, and we're not done yet here on Locked on Canes, but definitely make sure you check out Hoodie Girl show Buckets, which is incredible. Like if you talk about the place to get your Miami basketball news, men's and women's, Buckets is the spot. Like that's where you want to go for hoops news. Got some closing thoughts on football, and I want Melissa's thoughts on the transformation of the men's basketball team as well. So we are not finished yet, my friends. You want to make sure you keep it locked right here on this brand new Sunday live episode, Ezekiel Marcelin edition of Locked on Canes. And I already know you're keeping it locked to eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Live edition here of Locked On Canes. Hoodie Girl is with us. It's been way too long since we've had her on. You know, people are talking about other recruiting trends, football in our live chat, and I see the name, DJ Pickett coming up. DJ had his official visit to Miami last week. And somebody said that, hey, like DJ, he wants to see 10 wins. I don't know if he's going to wait that long to commit somewhere, but just want to point out, unless he completely changes up his schedule, DJ Pickett has already said he's going to be committing on October 5th. I think that's either his birthday or a family member's birthday. October 5th is when DJ Pickett plans to commit, which would be after the Virginia Tech game for Miami.
That would be right before Cal. Because I think that's when I fly out, because I'm going to that game.
Oh, okay. There you go. So if things are going well, Miami could be 5-0. If things are not going so well, they could be 2-3. But I agree with the sentiment. My understanding is DJ Pickett would feel very comfortable being a Miami Hurricane. Not even just because of the family member that he has currently playing for the team, and Booker Jr. and his uncle Booker Sr. played at Miami. His younger cousin Cannon Pickett, who's a class of 2026 top offensive lineman, loves Miami. It's not even just the family stuff. Schematically, culture fit, DJ would be very comfortable at Miami. But I do agree, he wants to see how the season starts, right? And he's going to be looking at Miami and a few other top teams, LSU, Oregon, and others that he's considering. So, I'm just saying, dominant victory over Florida could go a long way. Do not slip on the banana peel at USF. That could go a long way if you beat the brakes off of that team. You beat Virginia Tech on a Friday night. That could go a long way. So
that Florida game setting the tone, man. I hate to put more emphasis on one game than the rest of them that season, but to have that game week 1 at the Swamp, that's such a huge tone setter for the season. We need that one. We need it.
And something that scares me, like a little, this would scare me on either side of it. The overconfidence from both fan bases heading into that game, because sometimes I'm not bored very often. I live a very exciting life, of course, but whenever I'm bored, sometimes I'll see like what are people saying on Florida message boards. Sometimes I make the mistake of going to Florida State message boards. Just brain cells just die in my head left and right when I go onto those with the stupid dialogue that they have there. But I noticed, like, you get this, Miami fans seem very confident that Miami's going to go in there and make a statement. And then like the Florida, I don't think either side really knows that much about the opposing team. Because I noticed Florida fans are like, well, Mario's their coach, so they don't have a chance. And I think Cam Ward's overrated. Restrepo's, like, everybody's overrated, and they think they're going to dominate Miami. So both sides seem to think that they're going to easily handle the other side. Obviously Vegas seems to think Miami goes in there and wins, because Miami, last I checked, is like a 2.5 or 3-point favorite at the Swamp. But, one fan base is going to be crushed at the end of that game, because both sides think they're just going to take care of business. There's going to be some depressed fans for whoever loses that opening game.
A couple things. One, anyone who says Xavier Restrepo is overrated knows nothing about football.
I agree.
Knows nothing about football. I don't think Cam Ward's overrated at all, but I haven't seen him play in a game for Miami yet. Right. I'm excited for what I think he can do. So there's that. Also, in general, when it comes to these rivalry games, whether it's Miami, FSU, Florida, Miami versus Florida, I just feel like it's always going to be close. The last time we played UF, it was like a disaster. I mean, we lost, but it was just like, who could lose more? Like, it was such a sloppy game, and there were so many.
We gave up like 10 or 11 sacks in that game.
We were starting a true freshman at quarterback. Like, it was a whole thing. Like, we had a chance to win, and then we made a mistake, and then they gave it back, and it was a back and forth. no matter where we are in the rankings and things like that, I feel like it's always going to be close. And honestly, I feel like Florida has the advantage just because it's at the Swamp. It's week 1. If you ask me like, oh, we're playing Florida like towards the end of the season, I'd probably be a little bit more confident. But I'm nervous. I'm gonna be like chewing my fingernails off watching the game. Like I on paper, I think we're better, but how many times in the offseason can I say on paper and then get completely disappointed through the season? So I'll wait for the game to be played, but I'm not trying to I'm gonna talk my usual trash talk because it's a rivalry game, but I'm not calling like, oh, we're definitely gonna win this, blah, blah, blah. I need to see the game played.
Are you going to the game?
No, I
I'm
have a
going.
really I have a really bad road record, so a lot of my friends think I'm a jinx.
Stay away.
So I'm gonna go to Cal because I'm hoping that maybe by going to like a team that we're more favored to beat, that I might get on the winning side of things again. My only road win for a football game was in 2019 when we played Pitt, when we benched Nkosi Perry and put Jaron Williams in for the final 2 drives, and he threw that pass to KJ Osborne, who broke a tackle, and we won at the end. I sat in 50-degree weather rain to watch that, but it's my only win, and I celebrated with Bojangles after.
Oh,
Not
nice.
Bojangles. Where did we go? No, Bojangles was after the UNC loss. Where did I go after the Pitt game? I don't remember, but we celebrated with a lot of food and beer.
I like it.
Bojangles is my food after a UNC loss. I've seen too many losses at UNC Stadium. I'm never going back there.
I hear you. Hey, real quick, because we're running out of time. Your biggest takeaways from the men's basketball team and the roster transformation that's happening since a very disappointing year, to say the least.
Oh, geez, that was devastation. I mean, obviously, I think we're going to be better than we were last season. The portal woes that we suffered from a year ago, Coach Al did a full 180 in this offseason and hit the portal hard. The season before, I think he was focused too much on trying to keep the players we already had, and so we only ended up getting 1 transfer portal commitment. I mean, we had 2 before even any of our players hit the portal. I think as far as players that left and players that come in portal-wise, I think we're better. The totality of all of our players that we got is better than the totality of all the players that we lost. I know we lost some big names like Wilga and Norchad, but honestly, our depth is going to be better. And then you look at our top 10 recruiting class that we just brought in. Jaleel Bethea could arguably be a starter day one. I don't know. Coach L's not big on starting true freshmen, but I think he earns that starting spot by the end of the season. Austin Swartz, I think, is going to be a big guard for us off the bench. I think he's going to get minutes as a freshman. And then, like I said, this the portal guys, we have depth at the 4 and the 5 now. We have 3 guys that can rotate through there instead of just 1. We were picked, I think, CBS preseason rankings. They picked us 3rd behind Duke and UNC.
Oh, it's not bad.
So I think, in my opinion, come February when we go to the ACC tournament, we should have a 2-round bye. We should be in the top 4. That's my prediction, and we should have a tournament berth.
Love it. So yeah, not only can you check out Melissa on the Buckets pod, which is fantastic, and I saw her co-host Vish was in the live chat as well, but you've got your own line of hoodies now. Where can people find those?
So yeah, I got to collaborate with aboutthefans.com. So if you go over there, aboutthefans.com, and just search Hoodie Girl or Hoodie Girl collection, it's a line of 4 hoodies. This is one of them. This is my Hoodie Girl logo hoodie. There is a hoops themed one as well. But yeah, go check them out. I'm really proud of them. We worked on it for about a month coming up with designs, and they're super comfortable. But yeah, maybe Donno will buy one and rock one on the show.
Yeah, well, I told you I will definitely buy one. Rocking one on the show is going to be more difficult because I'm in, like, for whatever reason, old vents or something. The AC in this room sucks. So I'll be wearing like barely anything and I'll start sweating. But eventually, maybe if I, you know what I'll do, because I'm going to be doing some shows from hotels in about a month. I'm going to be at the ACC Media Days, so maybe I'll crank the hotel AC down to like 60 and I'll rock a hoodie.
There you go. I appreciate it, Donno.
Love it. We appreciate Hoodie Girl, and thanks everyone so much for stopping by. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again next time. Welcome, Ezekiel Marcelin. Welcome to the U. We'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.